Did Plato invent philosophy? The official story says yes. We're told Western thought was born in Greece, a sudden, miraculous flash of intellectual brilliance. But what if that's not the whole story? What if Plato wasn't a founder, but an heir? This idea, championed by thinkers like Ernest Bosc and rooted in the Hermetic tradition, radically challenges everything we thought we knew. It suggests that Greece didn't invent wisdom. It gave it a new language. When we talk about Egypt as the source, don't picture a university system where Greek students enrolled in classes. Bosc and others point to something much deeper, a symbolic and initiatory wellspring. Ancient Egypt didn't teach through abstract lectures. It transmitted knowledge through powerful myths, sacred rituals, and the very architecture of its temples. Its wisdom was lived, not just debated. Greece, in this view, took this profound operative wisdom and translated it into the rational, logical language we now call philosophy. The ancient world itself was filled with stories supporting this connection. Historians like Herodotus and philosophers like Iamblichus speak of Plato's travels to Egypt. They describe him studying with the priests, gaining access to a privileged, sacred education. But beyond these historical anecdotes, the real proof lies in the striking coherence of their doctrines. Think about Plato's core ideas, the division between a flawed, sensory world and a perfect, intelligible world of forms, the idea of the soul being trapped in the body, yearning for release, the concept of reminiscence, where learning is actually a process of remembering what the soul already knew, and finally, the belief that philosophy is a preparation for death, a training for the soul's final journey. All of these concepts, which we attribute to Plato, were already fundamental tenets of Egyptian initiatory traditions long before him. The key to understanding this transmission is a figure who stands as a bridge between these two worlds, Hermes Trismegistus. In Egypt, he was known as Thoth, the ibis-headed god of the word, of measure, of sacred writing and magic. In Greece, he became Hermes, the swift messenger of the gods, a guide, a mediator who travels between worlds, even guiding souls to the underworld. The figure of Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice greatest Hermes, embodies this act of translation. He represents the shift from the symbolic to the conceptual, from the ritual to the discourse, from the sacred silence of the temple to the bustling debates of the Athenian agora. He is the common language that allowed Egyptian wisdom to be reborn in a Greek form. This brings us to a crucial point that Bosc emphasizes. What changes between civilizations are the forms, not the fundamental principles. The outer shell, the cultural expression, the language, these adapt and evolve. But the metaphysical core, the essential truth about reality, the soul, and the divine remains constant. The doctrine is identical, even if the presentation is different. One culture builds pyramids and carves hieroglyphs. Another writes dialogues and builds philosophical systems. The underlying blueprint, however, is the same. This reframes what philosophy truly meant for Plato. It was never just about having a personal opinion or constructing clever intellectual arguments. For him, philosophy was an active process of purification. It was about fundamentally shifting your perception of reality, liberating the soul from the prison of illusion. This sounds exactly like the goal of the ancient mystery schools, like those at Eleusis or in Egypt. The famous allegory of the cave isn't just a beautiful poetic metaphor. It's a precise framework for an initiatory journey. It describes the painful but necessary ascent from the darkness of ignorance to the light of true knowledge, a spiritual transformation, not just an intellectual exercise. So why have we forgotten this lineage? Why does the modern world see philosophy as something completely separate from sacred tradition? Over centuries, a great separation occurred. Philosophy became detached from its ritualistic roots. The rich, multi-layered power of symbols was flattened and reduced to simple allegory. And metaphysics, once a pathway to experiencing the divine, became an abstract and often sterile academic subject. The West chose a path of trying to think without initiating, to understand without transforming. The result? A disembodied wisdom, a knowledge that lives in books and lecture halls, but often fails to touch the soul. It's thought without the transformative fire. Thinkers like Ernest Bosc are not trying to reveal some sensational brand new secret. Their work is one of restoration. They are reestablishing a broken continuity, reminding us that ancient Egypt, Greece, the Hermetic traditions, and later Neoplatonism are not isolated phenomena. They are all expressions of the same continuous current of sacred thought, a single river flowing through different landscapes. They're simply connecting the dots that have been ignored for far too long. Today, this perspective is more explosive than ever. To say Plato did not invent philosophy isn't an attack on Greece or its incredible legacy. It's about restoring a sense of vertical depth to our thinking. It's about reconnecting knowledge to initiation and theory to transformation. It's a powerful reminder that true wisdom isn't born in libraries, but in the direct, lived experience of reality. In a world drowning in information but starved of meaning, this perspective serves as a vital antidote to dry, lifeless intellectualism. Ultimately, the real question isn't who invented philosophy. The real question is why and when it ceased to be a sacred path. Plato isn't a beginning, he's a threshold. He stands at a gateway between two worlds. And if we look beyond that threshold, we find Egypt, we find Hermes, and we find a perennial tradition that still speaks to us today, for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join us as we explore more of these hidden currents of history and thought. See you next time.